think so. Is it
Everything's
recording?
recording.
Great.
Hey guys, good to see you again.
We're back.
I want to ask you first of all, video game websites get to review your games all the time. I think this is a pretty good opportunity for you guys to review our documentary.
Wow.
So, what did you think? Did we do an okay job? Or, like, if you were to mark it out of 10, Marty, what would you give it?
An 11. No, I think it's awesome. I loved your first one on Rocket League. It was kind of sent over when you were saying, hey, we'd like to do this. So took a look at that, watched the entire thing, thought it was amazing. Production value was way up there. You know, you're not trying to blow smoke here, but you're clearly knowledgeable and respect the developers and the games, and I think it shows through in everything you guys do. So loved it. I mean, I really liked it. Hugo was clearly the favorite part of the documentary based on the online comments. I made sure to read all of them, and have included the good ones in his review. But,
one of them, just to put everything in perspective, one of them said I had great boobs, and I appreciated that. Like, I think, because it's like, this guy's amazing, I want to have a beer with him. Nice boobs. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, that's terrible.
You're a star.
Marty's mom likes you, apparently.
Yes, she does. She thinks he's cute. He's so cute. I mean, she's clearly not seen how much you swear.
Yeah, that's the only thing is I wish I didn't curse so much, but that's difficult. I'm literally the son of a truck driver, so my dad drove a truck, so there's a lot of cursing in my house, and I'm from New York, so that's. But
you are?
Yes. And no, it's been really cool. Honestly, it's just cool to, like, with the Noclip stuff, to get just more stuff about the game out there. Like the stuff that was the coolest part of the Noclip thing was, like, we got to go into detail about stuff that normally we don't get to. Like we usually touch on it, Marty and I, when we have interviews, but, like, time constraints or just the nature of the conversation, you can't really do a deep dive. But, like, that kind of turned into, like, a nerd session, where we could really geek out about stuff, and honestly, that's what the development of the game was like, where we would just sit around and watch Armageddon, and then, just like your interview, nerd out about it for days, and break it down, and why did it work, and what can we, take from that and put into our game. So, really, the Noclip documentary was one of the best examples of actually the way we developed the game.
It's like what it takes, because like to get into that stuff, even we do so many interviews that are like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and like, we're the ones that are on camera, and as much as you say team, I mean, I think you did a good job, letting us talk about the effort and the work of everybody on the team that really, like, because that sometimes just when you're trying to be punchy and short, it falls by the wayside. But it takes a documentary like that to really, like, understand how much everybody contributes to the whole. So it was a great opportunity from that perspective.
Have you guys have a chance to go back and play a bunch of those, like Titanfall or Overwatch?
Yeah, still in the process. They like had about a gap of 2 years of games, like, playing them completely. But
played a lot. I liked Overwatch a lot. I haven't got a chance to play Infinite Warfare, but and also was a big fan of Titanfall 2. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Titanfall 2's MP and got good at it. It's so funny with MPs in general, and I feel like. Certainly with ours. You play the first night. If you get smashed, then you go on Reddit. What do you think? I think it's awful. The game design sucks. It's the game. It's not me. Like, it's because nobody likes doing something that they're not good at. And then stick with it for 3 days, and you're good. Oh, this game's really good, actually. I got to tell you. So that's how I felt about Titanfall. It's like, as a dev,
it's like going to a gym and playing basketball. A bunch of guys who play all the time, and then going home and being like, basketball is the worst sport ever.
Exactly. As a dev, I think you have to stick with the game. I kind of have a personal rule, like, I want to stick with it till I find the fun. Actually, Tiago, our lead renderer, he and I share a real passion for Bloodborne. Like, of the From Software games, I think Bloodborne's the best one. I really like Dark Souls 3, but, like, I just felt like so much of it was they didn't want, but, like, How do you beat the boss? You bring in your bros. Like, and something about Bloodborne, I beat everybody myself, you know, like, whereas Dark Souls 3, it was just so much more, almost a requirement to bring in people, you know. So he just recently said that Neo's combat was better than Bloodborne's, which, if we want to do 40 minutes about how good Bloodborne is, I'm down with that. So it starts out in the Van Helsing style world, which just universal monsters, werewolves, that kind of a thing. Like, I was just like totally down, right? And then it evolves into what I think is the best version of H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos kind of a thing that I've ever seen. Because everybody always tries to do H.P. Lovecraft, and it's like, oh yeah, with H.P. Lovecraft, we got tentacles. It's like, it's more than tentacles. Like, there's a bunch of stuff you got to have. And I thought that, not unlike our game, it was push-forward combat. Like, it basically said, oh, you just lost some health. You go in there and you whack that guy and get some of it back. And then the idea that like, I love parries. Like, give me a game with a good parry, I'm happy. And that parry was less of a defensive parry. Like, I love Dark Souls. I think it's fucking awesome. Like, it's just a different game. Like I'm on my heels in Dark Souls, and I'm on my toes in Bloodborne. Like, coming forward, and the idea that, like, to parry was the pistol, so I actually had to attack you. Just everything about it. And it felt doomy in that. There's sort of a push-forward combat aspect to that. One of the few games that, like, you'll see a guy, you know, you're in the cemetery and the dude's dragging the giant fucking sledgehammer, and you just say out loud with your headphones on, like, are you fucking serious? Like this now? Like, could that guy be any bigger? Like, you know. And then you kind of gotta, like, shake it off, and, you know, you're going in to fight. Just so awesome.
The guys in the office are such fans of Bloodborne, and I've tried it a few times, and I'm actually making the push. I'm not there quite yet, but I think once I get over the hump, it'll help.
We get to the first bonfire. It's brutal. I mean, it's a climb up a mountain.
Yeah.
And most people in the office, that's where you either bail or stick with it, because we had, like, Evgeny. He returned it. Like, he bought it. It's, you know, F this game, it's terrible. You know, I'm like, no, you just got to get past that. But
it's just so influential.
It is. Right. The coolest thing, and there's a lot of similarities there. Like, so I use the saw cleaver.
Yeah.
And within, like, even 10, 20 hours in, I was still discovering the nuances of that weapon and when to falter the enemy just perfectly so it could open up with the other attack, like, which I find endlessly satisfying. And I think Doom is similar to that, in that it's kind of simple, like sort of a narrow path, where it's like, because I didn't even go to the axe or any of the other weapons, I basically stuck with that one because it was really effective. But that, okay, it's certainly Dark Souls is a wider game with, you know, just go to the menu screen, it's like, oh my God, could we have more attributes on this screen? But like, that it's a little bit more tighter experience. I guess you could say simpler. But then, when you do that, you're able to add more nuance into what you do have, which, I mean, that's my favorite stuff, you know, personally. You know, I like all kinds of games, but when a game does that, where it's like, okay, you're not going to have 20 things, you're going to have 3 things, but in those 3 things, there's going to be layers that you're going to peel back over the course of 30, 50, 60 hours. I mean, that's just awesome.
I mean, weaponry in Doom, you could say, very similar thing.
Yeah. The movement in Doom, double jump, ledge grab. You know, like, that's pretty much it. But within that, yeah, the movement. And
chainsaw.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For me personally, the films that we referenced, they're like Michael Clayton, for example. I thought about that afterwards. Like, Marty and I discussed that film a lot in terms of being a piece of entertainment that used that kind of indirect storytelling, where you learned about things in really quick, subtle ways. The Tilda Swinton character certainly has, you know, we borrowed aspects of that for Olivia, and because we both feel when you make a piece of entertainment that appeals to a mass audience, that's no easy trick. Like, I always kind of feel like people are like, oh, Michael Bay Transformers, that's crap. I'm like, is it really crap? Because it, like, millions of people like this movie, you know. So we looked at Armageddon, and the way that he introduces the characters within the first 30 minutes in just, I mean, it's like, bang,
it's awesome.
Bang, bang, yeah. And all of it's super slick. I mean, Bruce Willis says like 2 things, and Steve Buscemi says like 1 look and a sentence, and you already know everything about that character. And I like him, you know, like, because pretty much the whole cast of Armageddon is likable. Yeah, we looked at that because we knew we were going to make a game that wasn't going to have cutscenes and wasn't going to have cinematics. So we're like, we got to look at and we wanted to have that sort of mass market appeal, a game that appealed to everybody. We didn't want like a niche game. We watched John Wick 2.
We did.
Oh, we did?
Yes. Have you seen it?
Not yet.
John Wick 1 is one of my favorite movies, and I know John Wick 2 is getting just ridiculous reviews. And I think those reviews are because it really does do some things well. I mean, it does, balls to the wall action like nothing else. I mean, it's just, the fight scenes are amazing. It's beautiful. So we saw 2 last week, and then I watched 1 again this weekend. There's a scene in John Wick 1 where they just do such a good job with the drama. It's not just about the fight. It's not just about the action taking place. When he finally in 1 goes to kill the son, the scene that sets that up is him talking to his dad sells out his son. Basically, it's a death sentence for his son when he tells John Wick where he's at, and then they go and John Wick goes to kill him, and they intercut that with his dad basically sitting at his desk, rolling a joint and smoking it, and he's like, you can feel the weight, and it makes the fight, the killing, so much more dramatic.
I think similar to us in 2016 is Blade Runner that's coming out now.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are big shoes to fill, and is it going to be good? I mean, I want it to be really good, but we were talking about this in the car. It's tough because that movie's good because the director obsessed about every frame, and there's stories about he wouldn't shoot until the shadows were right, and producers are showing up, we're over budget, and why aren't we shooting? Well, the shadow on the wall isn't where he wants it, and the guy's like, what are you, insane? I mean, this is blasphemous, but I think I've seen Blade Runner a million times, so right. I am the biggest fan. It is a boring movie. Let's be honest. It's very hard to watch Blade Runner for more than 30 minutes at a time, maybe 20 minits. But those are some good 20 minutes. It's pure art. Every second of that film is art. So, love it to death. Again, he can't make it like that, right. So will he introduce more action? I always thought that the concept of a cop who hunts replicants, that's badass. But the original Blade Runner didn't really. Even as a fan, I was like, this needs more action. You're really not, taking advantage of the opportunity that you have here because this is a really cool premise. So I hope that they introduce action. But it's going to be tough. It'll really be interesting because everything about the old one is it's slow. It's like taking it's just art. It's like going to a gallery. That's really what it is. So it will have to be a different film in order to be, in my opinion, sort of successful. And how they'll pull that off. I mean, not unlike us. How are you going to redo Doom and have it feel fresh and all the questions that we've been asked a million times? I think they're facing similar issues.
I think with Doom we had the advantage of that it's a game. The difference between remaking a game and remaking a film, particularly a game that's almost 25 years old, you kind of have a whole different. I mean, you're. Yeah, you have a whole different palette, a whole different canvas. I mean, everything is different. I mean, you still have to use the same sensibilities that you would use in a film, but you can still watch Blade Runner today, and it's. I mean, you're okay, this is just awesome. I don't have to use a lot of imagination, or where I'm using imagination, the filmmaker wants me to. I think it's completely different with the game. I mean, we really... We
have so many more tools.
Yeah, so many more
they
tools.
Couldn't even jump or look up and Doom, we had a lot of advantages when it came to making Doom better, but he's right. You could even argue that they're at a slight disadvantage because the Blade Runner is using, real film, with the film grain and all that adds, and now with the crispness of I mean, they have all kinds of filters that they slap on, but the purist would say, well, it doesn't look the same. I mean, and there's a lot of truth to that, so it's going to be tough,
Yeah.
Also, well, whatever. We're going to turn this into the Blade Runner.
No, go for it. Keep going. Finish your thought.
But it's just that we deal with this all the time, and working in the entertainment industry today is funny because with CG, we can make everything, and we can make it all look awesome. And you're going to pay an environment modeler to sit there and make a set in Blade Runner, and he's going to model the shit out of it, and it's going to look amazing. And then if you really try to do it like the way they would make films in the 80s,
more smoke
and turn the lights off because it doesn't look that good. we didn't have CG back then. So that's actually like a box with little squares drawn on it to sell a building. So like, turn the lights down. And that's actually why it looks so beautiful. Like, it's so suggestive. Like, as Marty said, like, so much of the imagery in Blade Runner exists in your mind because it's all shadows and silhouettes, and that's actually how you make a good image. It's very hard to turn off the lights when you've paid somebody to model that background. And also the artist is fighting against it, where it's like, dude, you know, like, this is the latest CG. When we experience it...
We do this in games. I mean, it's a lesson in... like in efficiency for us. Like, you know, we've gone back, we've done all of our postmortems and stuff like that, and we are going to, you know, on all of our stuff moving forward, we're going to do a much better job of like basically lighting and doing lighting and effects in our blockouts, so that we're getting those much closer. And there is always that rub between the environment artist and the lighting artist, because they're
and
like
tech.
And tech, another great
I
example.
mean, you're
Rendering,
working hard to get the crispness of the image.
Right.
And then I
want to turn the lights out.
I want to turn the lights off, but smoke. And it's like, so why are we doing this? Right. You know what I mean? Like,
and why did I spend, you know, 5 days modeling that greeble on the walls?
Yeah. Ultimately, you want to achieve. I think the cool part of the game, the balance, because I think there are moments where you want to get rid of the smoke and turn the lights on, because you want to show that gorgeous vista shot. And then other times we can be, you know, really moody and stuff. But it'll be interesting on the new Blade Runner. Like, will they have the guts to turn some of those lights off?
That was how the Doom story was developed. I mean, it was literally like, I mean, you always use the analogy, like, we got $10 to spend, we're spending 8 on combat, we're spending 2 on story. It doesn't mean we want, like, a story that nobody cares about, or a story that you know, isn't interesting or deep, or, you know, provides a kind of a whole new canvas that we can paint on moving forward. It just means we're gonna spend $2 on the story. So, like, how do we make that still, like, in, whether you use the player's mind or you use stuff in game, how do you do that? And it's awesome. It's so much fun.
It forces you to be efficient and clever, and I think it brings the best out of creatives. Like, learn to love the box. I love the box. Like, you know, that's the first thing I want to know, is how big is the box? Like, and honestly, if the box,
a T-shirt with that on it. I love the box.
If the box is, if the box is too big, that's a little intimidating. We gotta stop saying the box.
It's gone in weird direction.
If the restrictions of the project,
there you go,
are you know, if you've got a ton of money that you're playing with and you could do anything, that actually has its own problems. You know,
most of the time that doesn't work out well.
It really doesn't,
because you get into that whole feature creep, that creative creep. Like, it's
there are very few success stories when you look at, like, you know, just across the board, games, films, anything, where it's like, we started out with unlimited options and shit tons of money. We just said we have Slack, and we just said that. We said, even if you got $10, act like you got 2. Like, just always act like you don't. Always act like the box that you're working in is smaller than it actually is, because that means you're just going to be more creative and more efficient.
It makes things better, because you push away the stuff that doesn't matter, so that you can do the things that do.
If we had a ton of money for certain aspects of Doom, I seriously don't think it would have been as good. I would have liked more time, not more money, so I could have slept. We could all slept more, but certainly, like, the limitations proved to be like some of the really pushed us to be super creative.
Yeah. I mean, you've got plenty of time to add story to the Doom franchise if you want to.
I ain't gonna answer that because we can't say anything.
We'll leave it there.
Yes.
Thanks so much for chatting to us.
All right, thank you.